All right, welcome to the Crawlspace Minute. I'm Tim here today in the Crawlspace studios with Lance. How are you, Lance?
Doing well. I'm not going to take up too much time explaining how well I'm doing because these are supposed to be just bang, bang, in and out.
The Crawlspace Minute.
Here's the news of the day.
It's self-explanatory. So we posted this picture of Michael Jackson on social media over the weekend. You can follow us on Twitter at CrawlspacePod. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Crawlspace Podcast. We posted this picture of Michael Jackson from Leaving Neverland, the new documentary out of HBO. Is very polarizing. If you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend checking it out. It is a very disturbing watch. But so we posted that picture and the question, can you still listen to his music?
Right. Are you saying it's a disturbing watch because we've all just loved, for the most part, we've all loved Michael Jackson's music and we basically turned a blind eye to what these allegations are charging?
It's a complicated issue, right? Not because we as a society were in denial about this, but now that it's come to light, and the issue is he's got like 30 or 40 amazing songs. Can we just erase them from the radio because Michael is likely guilty, I suppose, if you're believing the accounts in this documentary?
Yeah, so what you're sort of equating it to is like are we trying to come to terms with ourselves for knowing about this for so long and not making not raising our voice about it before a documentary comes out to just, I guess, show us the obvious?
I mean, that's a real issue, and I think we're seeing that problem with R. Kelly, too, because in that documentary, Surviving R. Kelly from Lifetime, it kind of seems like there were a lot of people who were aware of it and complicit in this act that he did, which he is currently being charged with. Now, Michael is gone. He died, and so he's not ever going to face charges of this again. He did at one point in the past. Maybe we as a society were in denial about this truth, but I'm not exactly sure what happened back then. But I believe those kids and the families, they eventually said that it wasn't guilty, that Michael wasn't guilty. Am I incorrect on that?
Back then, when the charges originally came up, he was not ever charged.
He wasn't ever found guilty.
Yeah, he was never charged with anything. He continued to make music, and again, I mean, are we disgusted by the potential act, or are we disgusted by ourselves?
Honestly, we should be disgusted by all of it.
Right.
But what I'm asking, and what I think people would. But what I'm asking, and what the pages asked this weekend, is can you watch that, understand that might be true, and still listen to his music without thinking about it or without it bumming you out?
Right. Separate the art from the artist. And
can we erase an artist's catalog? Should we? It's a loss of culture, right?
Should we?
It's a weird question.
It's similar to taking down Civil War Confederate soldier monuments. It's a part of history that needs to be recognized. So why are you taking them down? That's an argument that's out there.
Yep.
Also, I know Pete Davidson got into a little bit of hot water over the weekend with his comments about, hey, isn't this the equivalent of the Catholic Church constantly getting accused of molesting children, but yet people still pray? People still go to church.
Hey, let's not get into religion.
Well, exactly.
No, but I'm saying it's the same argument. You're right.
Yeah.
And he's right. It gets into a much bigger argument. But so let's get into some of these comments because people wanted to talk about it over the weekend.
Yeah, it really took off.
Now, here from Amber on Facebook, she says, are you speaking of Wade Robson's manipulation and premeditation or Michael's? Because what I put in the question was his premeditation and manipulation seems so obvious now. Michael's, I was speaking of in the original question. But this person doesn't believe the accounts. She says you can't ignore the shadiness of Wade Robson and the timing of these new claims. Past that, the house shatters and falls down.
Okay. Got Mary Moo on Twitter, just simply says, screw him and his music.
Okay. Carla here says, I believe the victims, full stop. Wade and James' stories have too much eerie coincidences. Plus, I am a victim of sexual violence, and I feel in a deep, inexplicable way that they were struggling to tell their stories in similar ways as I am in CPTSD therapy.
Yep. And Dr. Princess touches upon a certain element to this whole thing. On Twitter, it's tough since I've been an MJ fan since I was a kid, but I believe his accusers. But I also feel like MJ likely suffered abuse from his own childhood, which affected his adult personality, which doesn't excuse his horrendous behavior. Not sure how I feel about his music.
Right, because no one really had the life experience Michael Jackson did. Literally, nobody in the history of this world that I can think of was a superstar at that age.
It feels like he was, and this is not anything revolutionary, he was clearly stuck in a state of suspended animation. I mean, even naming his property Neverland, that's just like a state of suspended childhood, and he wanted to continue that because he never had a childhood. He never experienced a childhood the way a
not
child
a normal
should.
one. Yeah, certainly not a normal one. From Instagram, Miss Drifty says the sister of one of these victims said the truest thing. He may have been a hero and had musical talent, but as a human, he was awful.
And Ohio Valley True Crime says, I don't think I'll be able to watch the documentary, and I prefer not to listen to his music. This is the interesting part to me. I hate how celebrities can get away with so much.
It's weird.
And it's true.
I mean, we could do this topic for this show
for 45 minutes or
easily.
45 days.
Yes, 45 days.
Yeah.
Shelly here on Facebook says, I'm 100% done with his music, and I've deleted all of it from my library.
Scott says, my thought is, how can anyone possibly be surprised by this?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I'm not surprised, but now that you hear it in the accuser's own voices, it's impactful, Lance. Joe here on Facebook says, I love his music and I will continue to listen to it.
And Nama says, our good friend Nama, also, to be fair, the guy was clearly struggling with some mental health issues and was almost certainly victimized himself at that age. Those parents, and capitalized parents, sending their kids to the slaughter so that they could also feel glamorous are, whatever. Lots of exploitation all around.
Megan here on Instagram says, of course I'll still listen to his music. He's my king of pop. Always has been and always will be. What I want to know is why the parents were leaving their children overnight with an adult. There's a lot of problem with that right there. They were starstruck. They weren't thinking.
Yep. And you said you're going to throw away your MJ socks. You have a nice pair of Thriller socks, which are cool.
They're really cool. One side is Michael Jackson from the movie Thriller or the video Thriller, and then the other side is the wolf from the same music video Thriller. And now I don't feel comfortable wearing them, Lance.
It's a reasonable feeling to have. Why are you wearing those socks?
I'm so in conflict because they are great socks.
Yep. And Wine and a Movie with Ty says nope, and have been fighting for that for a while. People love to make excuses for the famous. I guess it's not so polarizing the more we read these. A lot of people are on the side of all done with him. They can live without having Michael Jackson's music in their lives.
40 Beard here says, hell no, I try not to listen to it anyway, but now I will definitely not. It's been obvious for years. People just don't want to admit it. Now, my question is, what about a wedding? What about if it's wedding season's coming up, Lance?
Playing his music at a wedding. Everyone loves to dance to Billie Jean at a wedding.
What wedding has not featured or had a Michael Jackson song play during the reception at some point in the last 25 years, Lance? This is going to change weddings forever.
Is this really where we're at now, where you're planning your wedding and you have to have the conversation with the DJ?
Yes.
Like, if you're a DJ, you have to have the conversation with a couple and say, I have some Michael Jackson in my repertoire. Do you want me to not play it, or is it cool if I play it? I mean, that's incredible.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And Susan, shout out to Susan, my empathy for him evaporates hearing what a predator he was. I'll never listen to his music again. It's weird thinking about how Disney World had a whole MJ section indoctrinating children to him.
Yeah.
Wade and James are very brave.
Dolly Rott here on Instagram says, I can't separate the music from the artist. I guess that's a good question, right?
Yeah.
Can we separate these allegations from the music? Because undeniably, the music was great. I mean, he made an enormous cultural impact. His footprint on the entertainment industry will last forever. It was like Elvis. Like, there's almost no one comparable to him now.
Yeah. Do you get into the deeper conversation then, where it's like, if we're going to not listen to Michael Jackson's music, are we not going to appreciate Picasso? Because Picasso was a womanizer and beat women.
Or Edgar Allan Poe.
Or Edgar Allan Poe. Or watch Sean Penn movies. Like, you can keep going. Like, how far does it go? Are we just simply saying because he molested children, that's where we draw the line? Like, is there even a line at that point?
I don't know, but I know that this was your Crawlspace Minute from Tim and Lance. Subscribe to this channel on YouTube. Thanks a lot for watching.
10 minutes on the dot.